shouldn't make a noise. It really shouldn't.
I'm starting with Brudiclad and a mirror. I'm asking it to change its shape. A dragon token would make things a little easier. If you want to make the board a different state, take a look at that dragon and make that change. Na 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 na. Woo! Did I give it away?
No, yeah.
Okay. You were very silent, so I was like,
for a while, I was like, is he picking another Milli Vanilli song or something? But okay, so that's Man in the Mirror, Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got a little story about that song too. I'll try and make it quick. Freshman year with varsity football in my high school. First day I'm there. The head coach lays everybody down in the wrestling room, like all 150 of us. Like we're just packed in there, and he plays this song going, "Look inside yourself for excellence," and da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, what's going on? As a freshman, I was like, this is way too intense for me.
That was high school or college?
That was high school, yeah.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, that was great.
Lowry in the mirror. Yeah. So welcome to Commander Smiths.
We are the Commander Smiths.
I am Adam Smith.
And I am Lowry Smith. And we are cousins.
We are. And after tonight, we are still cousins. There was no backstabbing with this Commander Spotlight testing.
It was hard. It was hard to do it.
Yeah. There was actually we were working together tonight.
Again, we kind of did that as well. But it was...
It's like we were family, man.
It was rough. We'll get to that here.
Yeah. Welcome to episode 29.
29.
We're almost at that 30 mark.
Jeez.
Today's episode. Well, actually, let's get our
sign-ons.
Our sign-ons, everything. So, Twitter. You can follow us on Twitter at Commander Smiths.
You can email us at commandersmiths@gmail.com.
I still love you can email us at Gmail. I'm never going to get over that.
Whatever.
And then YouTube, subscribe, like, share, do everything you want in there.
Or nothing.
Or nothing at all. But
watch. Watch would be nice. Listen. Watch, listen.
Yeah, do some of that stuff.
Listen.
Yeah. Today's episode, we have, 4 segments today, right? What are we talking about?
Yeah, we just keep on cramming more and more into this.
Yeah, I know.
So, first off, we're going to talk about some of the games we were testing out. I played Xantcha
Spotlight
twice.
testes.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to call it now.
Spotlight
testes. So we test our Spotlight decks out. And then we wag our testes out.
I think they get it.
And then we wag our testes out. The winner gets to wag their testes.
We don't do that. That is not happening.
Falls on the chin. All right.
And then we'll talk about Brudiclad as a Commander Spotlight here for Adam. Kind of built that.
And then some new cards this week kind of came on that are going to be actually pretty sweet for Commander.
Some of them,
kind
I
of.
think. Yeah.
I mean, there's only a couple cards we're going to talk about. There's 2 cards from Ravnica that got kind of spoiled. One is the Buy a Box promo, and then just a regular card. That's pretty sweet.
Promo.
And then we finish up with our Smith Specs.
Smith Specs of the week.
So, but let's start off what we kind of were already teasing a little bit, how tonight went. Tonight was very, very fun and interesting.
Yeah.
The first...
Okay, you played Yoriko.
Yep, Yoriko, sorry.
And I played Xantcha.
For the first 4-person match. So
we had 2 4-person matches, and then the other person had played Sahili the Gifted out of the box, and then the other person was playing Gisela Blade of Gold Knight. The red-white one.
Yep.
So just to set the scene.
So everything kind of was working how my ninjas were supposed to work that first game, but
jeez, yeah.
Your Xantcha, that thing is brutal. Like, she comes out and you give it to somebody and you gave it to them. Was it turn 3 they got in attacking? Were they attacking?
Yeah. Every time I was able to play Xantcha on turn 3 and give it to somebody. And the thing that I learned was, okay, so Adam, who's playing Yoriko, the ninja deck, is to my left. And so that is the most ideal place to give Xantcha to,
and
so that they can
I really
outright...
wanted it. And we actually realized it as he was trying to decide who to go to. I was like, oh, give it to me, because then I can attack and I can get my ninjas out.
It's giving him a free, it's his turn 2. He gets a free, ninja attack basically, and it'd return Xantcha back to my hand. It was like, well, that's stupid.
But yeah, so then you gave it actually, which was probably the most ideal play, was to give it to the Gisela deck, because as soon as Gisela comes out, then she's freaking doubled. And
yeah, she's doubling all the damage, but having all the damage to herself. But the losing of the life from the card draw
still happens.
It's still 2 life, and you're just draining that player. So,
but we actually never got to that point, did we?
Not while we were draining them, no.
Well, we didn't get to the point of Xantcha getting through and hitting for 20.
No,
Gisela never came out when she was out, but he was wrecking. I mean, he had the gods out, or wasn't that game?
Yeah, it was that
it was
game,
the gods and everything out.
So he had Iroas and Heliod. He had Gisela going. And then he had my Xantcha and the red Praetor.
Yeah,
and so he was just like,
holy shit. He was gonna kill us all. But the kind of the cool thing was that we noticed while we were playing was the survivor stuff.
Yeah, so
Tyson got
the Saheeli deck played the Varchild Trader of Kaldor, and that did hit each player, so it did 9 damage there, and then each of us was swinging at each other because we can't tack with Varchild or the Saheeli player, and so Varchild probably did a total of, I think it came out to like
15
19
or 18.
No, it was 19, 20 damage.
Was
Yeah, because she did 9 alone, and each set of the 3 did at least 3 damage, and I think yours did 5 to 6.
Yeah.
And so it was just kind of like, that's a lot of damage for a 3-mana creature.
There's a funny thing at the end of this that we'll tell you that happened with that. But yeah, so that was working pretty well. Your deck wasn't...
I got shorted on mana both games, which kind of sucked.
But your second game, you kind of went off with your stuff better. The first game, it was a little hard, but you weren't getting kind of annihilated by creatures. It was actually my ninjas were getting you.
Yeah, I mean, your ninjas in that first game did 24 loss of life to each person,
and then just her damage, and it was insane because I was able to actually set my top with. What was that? Ancestral Knowledge.
Yeah.
And so that was the second play. I played that, or I think it was the second turn. Yeah, I played that out. So I set my top, got my ninja in the next turn. Oh, it must have been turn 3.
Turn 3, yeah.
Yeah, because I had to get my creature out first. Then I set my top, and I set it so Deep Sea Kraken was on top, along with another 7-drop. So first time she swings through, I actually had 2 ninjas hit in. I got 17 points of damage just right there.
It was just like, it had lives really quick.
Yeah, it was pretty freaking insane. But so how this game kind of finished is what.
So I knew I wasn't gonna win. Here. I had nothing on board. I just was just trying to kind of end the game. And so Tyson, who was Saheeli, there was 9 survivors on board. And Tyson had been asking to have his Varchild die so he can get all these tokens. So actually, I'm like, Tyson, I want to take second. And I play Liliana the Veil, and I say, you can sacrifice a creature. And then he goes, well, okay.
He goes, oh, sweet.
And then he grabs a Thopter.
He killed one of his, wasn't it a servo from the...
Yeah, it was a servo.
From the... Saheeli. And he's like, all right. And then Larry didn't even see it happen.
I wasn't even looking. I was already sending it
survivors over. And I'm like, oh! And he's like, what? What No!
He still won. So, yeah, he won that game.
He won. But you didn't get second because then I killed you.
Yeah, I died right away. I was like, damn it.
I killed both you guys with the ninjas going through and everything. But, yeah, then Tyson took second.
So it was pretty funny.
Or took first. I took second, I guess.
Yeah, you took second. That was a pretty funny game.
Yeah, and then the second
4-person game
was interesting because we didn't knock Tyson out right away, but he got knocked out first.
By the Gisela player, dealt 44 damage on like turn 6 or 7.
Yeah, it was like
there was the enchantment that gives double strike and lifelink, and then he played Gisela, and it had fervor in play, and so he went crazy. He could have either killed me or
Tyson in one swing. Yeah.
I guess he coun't really kill me, but I would have been at like 6. I had a creature that I could play at flash.
Oh, okay. So, that was in your hand.
Yeah, dual caster mage. I was just gonna play it to block and live for a turn.
Yeah. So, but that game came down to each one of us had the opportunity to kill the other one, and like we just kept leaving it for the next person in line. It was just like, all right, well, I can kill you, but I need you.
The Gisela player was up to like, he said 91 life. I remember 83 at that point, but like...
Yeah, he was up to 90 at some point.
Me and you kept on just like getting at him. I played like Crown of Doom, which just like put a huge target on him. Like I think we dealt 30 damage in one turn on him.
And then he made my ninjas nothing after. Instead of killing Lowry, is like, all right, what did he play again? It was the Hour of Devastation enchantment that makes them all 1/1s.
I think it's Overwhelming Splendor, the one that... it's a curse and gives your creatures +1.
So then it was just like, well, this sucks. I can ninjutsu them in, but nothing happens when they get ninjutsu'd in because they're still ninjas and the ones in my hand still work. But yeah, it was stupid. So then Lowry was at 3 and I could make mine unblockable and hit him. But he had like, what? You had 10 zombies? 12 zombies?
Yeah, so I had Waste Not with... Oppression out, and so every time somebody was playing a spell, each time they discarded a land, so I was putting 2/2 zombies. I had 11 in play at the end of the game,
and that's the part where we were kind of working together, because one, we were trying to get Mike down with life, but then also I was like, Larry, what do you need, creatures or land? Or drawing a hand, and you're like, well, I need this, and I was like, oh shit, no, I actually have 10 cards in my hand, so you're gonna get a bunch of stuff.
So yeah, I just got a ton of creatures. It was pretty sweet.
But yeah, I guess we called it pretty much a tie there because all three of us had the opportunity. Although working it back, we were like, Mike probably could have had the better opportunity, maybe.
Had he, killed me instead of playing Overwhelming Splendor. But
yeah, because then you played that enchantment that halved our life at the beginning of our upkeep. So
Havoc Festival.
Yeah, so that really brought us down quite a bit.
You know what? Honestly, Crown of Doom did an awesome job of just like, ooh, I can do a lot more damage now.
Yeah.
And then me as the player that didn't have the +2/+0 target on them, like it felt really kind of good to just be like,
here you
hey,
go.
Give it to somebody else. You guys
are the ones giving it to each other, dicks.
Yeah. So it was I really enjoyed Xantcha. I think another weakness that I found like playing against Yoriko was you were drawing so many cards that you didn't want to spend mana to have use the Xantcha ability. So that kind of stopped it, and people were just kind of like, well, this is what Lowry wants to do, so I'm not going to do as much as I can.
But then like I was also kind of discussing with you a little bit, I think a lot of players, you have your plan in hand and you're like, okay, you're trying to play as much as you can and not leave mana open. So it wasn't until they left like, oh yeah, I have 3 because I can't cast something, then I'll do it. But it didn't seem like I wanted to take advantage. It wasn't that I didn't want you to do the 2 life thing, because that hurts the other player too.
I think it's what's in your meta and what is what you're playing against.
Yeah.
Like if you're playing against a control deck that holds their land up, they'll love Xantcha.
Oh yeah,
then they'll be like, well, I didn't have to prep pick anything. Yeah, then I'll just draw a card. That if you're playing a like Urte Wizard Adept or whatever, that's a old card, but it's a shitty commander. So it's that one you can pay for, tap it, counter target spell.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So that you're always holding up mana in that deck, and you can just, if Xantcha's in the field, do it at the end.
Yeah.
It's well worth it.
Well,
so it depends on, I think it depends a lot more in that deck what you're playing against.
And I kind of, one thing I wish I would have saw, because I remember going through that deck, is I didn't get to see the equipment getting added onto her and doing the damage as much as I'd like to. Because you had a lot of that stuff.
I only had 3. Really.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
There was only the 3 that we kind of talked
take
about.
back my a lot. You had some stuff.
In last week's podcast, I did mention you could go more with that and almost turn it into like a Voltron for somebody else and just start stacking stuff on her.
The problem with that is when you get down to one person, then you have to find the way to kill them by you got to get drawing.
Yeah, you just draw cards because it can't attack you.
Yeah.
So yeah, Xantcha was a lot of fun to play. I was pretty surprised at how well I stuck around for not having a ton of creatures and able to block.
Well, there was some rolling stupidity that went on. Just kidding. Roll the dice. I got the second game. I got targeted so much. I was like, I'm gonna roll the dice on even or odd. I was like, the obvious choice is to attack this person. I'm like, well, I'm still gonna roll, and Adam's gonna be involved in this. And every time it rolls on Adam, it's just like, what the fuck is going on?
There was at least 4 rolls, and four of them went after
were
you.
all after me, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. What are you guys doing?
I laughed.
Yeah.
They couldn't attack me, so I was happy about it.
So we finished those games, and we did a little one-on-one. It wasn't going to work with Xantcha against the ninjas because it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
one-on-one doesn't work with that. But the enchantment deck...
I played Estrid, and it did a lot better 1v1 than I thought it would.
It's pretty brutal. And I went into it going, I don't want to play this deck because it's going to freaking get annihilated. And
the first game, it kind of just like controlled the whole thing.
Yeah, and that's where I was just like, I can't do anything. I mean, well, that's actually what happened too. We didn't like finish it because I was like, I have no answers unless I get Cyclonic Rift, and so I just looked at the top 5. I was like, yep, you got it.
Nothing. And then the next game was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of back and forth. You got me down to 12, I think.
Yeah, well, I think we were kind of going back and forth because I was able to play Collective Restraint.
The enchantment
that you got to pay.
That was brutal because I had freaking conspiracy out, so I had 4 unblockable pretty much people that could do. They were all ninjas, and I would have been looking at the top 4 cards, and he's like, "Oh, but you got to tap 3 every time you attack with a creature," and so I could only attack 1 creature each turn. And then you came out with
a lot.
The Indestructible Angel.
Avacyn Archangel of Hope was super nice because that allowed me to like block with impunity.
And attack got me down. Well, how many times? You 3 times with her or 2?
2, I think. And then you bounced it.
Yeah.
And then
I Cyclonic Rift.
Then you Cyclonic Rift. And then you hit me with the ninja where you could play a spell out of my hand
for free. So I took the angel.
And then you won.
Yeah.
That's a good line of play, I'd say. I'm supposed to be the deck that's supposed to steal your creatures, and then you kill me with one of mine. I don't know what you were worried about, you jerk.
But you still even put up a fight even in the last minute there. You were like dropping down. You threw the copy enchantment on that. You were trying to double it up so I couldn't tap 6 to attack you. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
The Pillow Fort was really brutal.
And you were right. Like, so I did have Will Breaker in my hand, and then I was 1 mana short from playing Estrid. And so I could have played Willbreaker, Estrid, put a mass counter on Avacyn, and then take it back.
Yeah.
And I was just 1 mana short because I actually had Sarah's Sanctum in play, but all of my enchantments were bounced back to my hand. So that became I wasn't going to be able to play any enchantments without being more than 1 mana.
So if you would have drawn that 1 land, you would have been fine then.
Yeah, and it was the next one because I drew.
So that would have been an interesting play there because I was still gonna get through with ninjas, but I would have had to top. What were you at that point? Like 8?
8.
Yep, because it was exactly what the angel was. So that would have been interesting.
I think both of these. I think all of the decks that we kind of played had a lot of like fun game to them.
It was a lot of fun games. But one thing I did mention to you actually before the podcast, one thing that this has done making these decks, and actually you'll see here with Brudiclad a little bit, is I'm making these decks where it's not my normal style. So it's like completely aggro. Not completely, but they're very aggro, and that's not my normal style, and it's been kind of cool doing that. I don't know how your style, if it's been different for you building this. How many decks is this now? That's 1, 2, 3, 4 decks that we have. Plus you have 5. Your Animar that you made.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
you just build.
I build decks so
really
many
times.
Yeah, decks. I try. I don't know if I necessarily try, but like I work around the limitations that I have in my card choices. Even though I have a ton of card choices, like I was saying with Estrid, I didn't have Enchanted Evening. I wasn't willing to buy it, and so I tried to figure out a way around that, which turned that into a control deck. I will admit I'm generally not a control deck. I'm probably more of, and I'm definitely not a Xantcha deck player. I'm probably more out of the ones that we've done. I'm probably more of like a Muldrotha player.
Yeah. I
that was like right up my lane.
Yeah, right out of the graveyard, everything like that. Yeah.
incremental value, try and bury people in that value, and then being able to play stuff and utilize my graveyard. That's probably more my style. And I did try and get away from it in these decks because I noticed I did that with Vivectus Asmati, Muldrotha. I was aiming to do that with Animar deck. And so I was just like, well, maybe I should aim a little bit away from the graveyard, switch it up a little bit. I think I did an all right job.
Well, that also, it depends on your commander. I mean, some of the commanders, it just, you can't build it that way,
Sure,
you know?
yeah.
Like, it just, I don't know. The ninjas wouldn't be able to work with the graveyard stuff. It'd all have to be... top of the deck stuff was pretty sweet. I actually really liked getting the really freaking big creature or casting cost stuff on the top. Yeah, I mean that I never got any of the combo cards, the fuse or whatever cards on top.
Oh yeah, like commit to memory.
Yeah.
One thing that I think that I found interesting when you were talking about Yoriko before was when you were like, I'm glad I don't have like a bajillion top setters.
Yeah.
You're like, I think I have a really good certain amount because it's fun to kind of have random too.
Yeah, because it was just
but it's
like,
also nice
am I
to
going
like
to
set
kill
it
you
up.
all or not? Oh,
because you did it.
land.
Yeah, you did one where you hit three
and then it was
2
land.
Yeah, it was 2 land and then like a 5 mana.
That was
or
to
something.
determine if Tyson was going to win or lose. He was at 21. I knew I'd probably kill you guys with one flip because I needed 3 damage or something like that, and then I hit a 6 or a 5. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. But it killed me and Giselo player,
but not Tyson.
But not Tyson even close.
Wah,
So,
wah.
but
yeah, the
is
randomness is kind of nice.
So I think if you're looking at the tapped out on with Yoriko, you can probably figure out like, do I want more control or do I want less control? Because you're feeling like you're kind of right there in the middle, that you're able to kind of do it some of the time.
Yeah, and that was 2 playthroughs. So I mean,
there's probably
there's quite a bit of we added Jason. We added more, like you said on the last podcast. We added more permanent top chain. Yeah, instead of the instants and sorceries, the only instant or that I have in there or sorcery that manipulates is Brainstorm.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I took every single one of the other ones out. So. Yeah, I don't know. I want more playthroughs with it because I love all these decks that we build, but then we got the next one coming up, so that one I have to play through that one as well. So I don't know. Yeah, you could do some tweaking. You could make it more of you're playing cards like those instants and sorceries to actually set your top, to find the cards you want on top, to go get your idyllic tutor, to do not idyllic tutor, mystical tutor, vampiric, or
yeah, that's true.
Those you could put all those tutors in and find exactly what you want and set it up. I just thought it was kind of fun.
And still deal a ton of damage, but
it's kind of fun. I mean, with that ancestral knowledge, setting 10 cards. I only set like 3 because I was like, well, I'm not going to pay it 2 turns in a row because I'm going to get 2 through and do at least 2 or 3 cards. And then you guys were like, oh, well, his next setup is going to be crazy. I was like, oh, I'm not even going to pay this casting cost. So
you just had to do the 1 because you were able to dig so deep and get the 2 biggest that you wanted.
So that card ended up being like we thought. I thought it was a really good card, going to be good in that deck, and it proves right. I mean, just setting the top that same turn and then you're attacking with your ninjas, you at least are getting the biggest card on top and drawing that right away. So I don't know. It was sweet. I had a lot of fun with it. But yeah, should we get into our next stuff? Because we've gone a while in this. Is there anything else you wanted to add on onto the stuff that we played tonight?
No, I really
it'll be fun to get.
It's always fun to play Magic.
Yeah,
unless you're getting like mana screwed. I'm even fine with getting flooded because that means if you draw something
then
awesome, you can still play it. But screw sucks.
So yeah, we're gonna get into Commander Spotlight.
A spotlight deck.
Why do I even say a voice? Because there was just a chipmunk voice that just went right before that. So I don't even know why I did anything there. So
it doesn't have to be a chipmunk. It could be
do you want to do the slow-mo voice again where you don't even know what's going on? You're like, I can't. I
couldn't even hear it. It was. I'm not gonna say awful. You do a lot of work, so I appreciate it. But I couldn't understand it.
So, let me get this pulled up here before I actually
you
start.
should. What's the name of your
Brudiclad?
Brudiclad what?
Oh, you just want me because of the Telchor Engineer?
Yeah.
What do you want me to say? You want me to mispronounce the Telchor
No,
one?
I was just.
Or
I knew you didn't know Telchor Engineer part.
Because
so
I just call it
wanted
Brudiclad.
Yeah.
Telchor
He's
Engineer.
a brood.
So this is Brudiclad. He is part of one of the commander decks from 2018. It's 4 a blue and red to come out. 4/4 legendary artifact creature artificer. And what he does is creature tokens you control have haste at the beginning of your combat on your turn, which this is kind of key with a lot of these cards. You create a 2/1 blue mirror, hence what my song I said.
Yeah, no, it was.
You got it?
I knew what was going on here.
A blue mirror artifact creature token. Then you may choose a token you control. So you may choose. You don't have to change everything. If you do, each token you control becomes a copy of that token. So,
what do you got going on? That's a lot of words.
Yeah. So
that was so fake. I'm sorry.
Was that for me to talk?
Yeah.
So what's going on? I'm so confused.
I really love this card. Tell me more.
It's like those telecommercial things where it's like the chopper thing, or where the knives. Like, what is this contraption that you're making? I don't even know what's going on. Like
the infomercials,
or you see the ones the infomercial where it's like how to pour your milk, and
somebody trying to crack an egg and they just like throw it on the floor.
It's so stupid.
You're like the most incompetent people I've ever seen. How do you not know how to open a door? Like, what is your problem?
Where it's like pouring their milk into cereal and they just drop the whole gallon in. It's like,
has a gallon of milk ever been too heavy for you?
Those things are so stupid.
Buy a half gallon, you dumbass.
Okay. Anyway, so yes, I'll explain to you what this deck is about. So I was having trouble. Not trouble. I just
struggling.
Yeah, it took me a little bit. Yeah, I'll play a little bit.
MC struggles.
So I took the idea of not just going for like 1/1 tokens and all that. It went with.
You mean like going wide with a bunch of 1/1s, or
just making a bunch of tokens and then whatever? Yeah, going wide, making them 2/1s or whatever. I went with the idea of making clue tokens and making treasure tokens and making. There's only one gold token thing, but because it says tokens, you may change them into creatures when you actually have another token that's in play. So my whole thought process was well, let's just get a whole bunch of tokens out, all different kinds of tokens.
So kind of go wide.
Kind of. But then you get one token that's bigger than the rest. So dragons, for instance, or making a token copy of something.
Like dragons.
I do love dragons.
I said like.
Love dragons.
Okay.
I mean, it's tattooed on my back.
A little too much.
But
calm down there, Sparky.
Dragon boner. Roar.
Shouldn't make a noise. It really shouldn't.
Roar. Oh, okay. So, the basic idea of this deck, and so right off the bat, what I'm going to say with this deck. This is going to be not your so aggressive deck. It's not going to be one you want to go against a whole bunch of really powerful tier 1 commander decks because they're going to kill you. It's kind of high mana cost. Mana cost. Whoa, that's weird that I said that.
Rubbing off on you.
Yeah, freaking A. That was weird.
It's all right. Felt good, didn't it?
Mana cost. Sorry about that. But... So I would not say it's clunky. It's more of it takes a little bit to get going. So you're just setting up. It's a lot of setting the table, and then you're ideally trying to kill everybody in one swing. So you get your tokens all out. They don't look scary or anything. It's like, hey, I got a clue token here. Hey, I got a gold or treasure token here. And then when it's your turn to shine, you play a dragon token out, and you change them all, and then you kill everybody. Day of Dragons is what we used to call this term. Yeah. And actually Day of Dragons is in this deck.
You put Day of Dragons in there. So I appreciate it. I saw that. I was like, Day of Dragons.
You actually put Day of Dragons in here. So I don't know. Where do you think I should start? Should we start with the...
You're the boss.
Well, let me just talk about...
on this, not overall. We are one.
Let's talk about the basic token stuff. So like...
the
1/1s, the setting everything up. So it's kind of just... starting everything off. So
so you have the header as little tokens.
You don't have to read my headers. I don't want you to read that stuff anymore.
So the one that like is probably most interesting to me. I like. Well, maybe I love this card a little too much, but the Locust God.
Oh yeah. I love that card.
If you want to go back to episode 3, 2, 3,
Lowry's like
mentioned
Locust God.
this would be really good. Locust God.
God deck.
Masters 25. I think I brought it up like 4 times. All right.
So Locust God is every time you draw a card, you get a 1/1.
You create a 1/1.
1/1 flying
insect with haste. Yeah. So that's just one of the ways that you're able to create a bunch of little tokens, and those can just be aggressive as well, like being able to just turn all of your treasure tokens and
to 1/1 flyers.
To 1/1 flyers.
Yeah, I mean if you get to that point, but really with that is to get like chump blockers, 1/1s out, just get
survive a little
out.
bit longer.
Yeah, one interesting one that I wanted to mention, and I'm going to see how this works out, is the one that's from Dominaria, the Mishra's one.
Self-replicator? So, which one was that? I don't even remember
that one.
So it's
5 colorless, which is kind of a lot to come out, and it's a 2/2, but every time you cast an artifact, you can tap one and it creates a copy of itself. So I was thinking we'll see how this tests out when it's in there, but then you're just tapping 1, but then you get 2 out there, so you tap 2, it makes 2 more, and then you're just going wide with your tokens. That I'm going to test out, but the 5 drop is kind of...
5 does seem like a lot.
For a 2/2. But as soon as you cast an artifact, you get a token, and then you just start duplicating those tokens.
Yeah, I was sitting here, I'm trying to look it up right now, but there's... I want to say it's like Mirror Propagator. That's kind of similar.
Well, while he's looking for that, I'll keep talking about some of the other ones. So some of the other little token things is I'm going to use Tempt with Vengeance, which is from a Commander 15 set, I believe. And it's the red one where you tap, I think it's 2 red and X, or it's 1 red and X. I don't remember. It's one of the 2. But then you get to make 1/1 X 1/1s.
Oh, Tempt with Vengeance.
Yeah, and then everybody else can choose if they want to make it too, and then you get that many more. So this is going to get your board huge. Most people are going to probably say,
I was going to say, if you see that with a Brudiclad deck, just say no.
Yeah, exactly.
Take the damage. You're going to be... You might just be dead anyway.
Then you have Thopter Spy Network, Psi Master Thopterus. That one's from the new M19,
which seems to be gaining like more and more popularity.
It's been going up, so that's pretty cool because that one not only when you make or cast an artifact, you get a 1/1 Thopter, but you can sacrifice 2 to draw a card. So it has a little bit of draw engine to it as well.
And then you're helping out the Locust God.
Yeah, exactly. So you lose 2, you gain 1.
Yeah, I'm totally down with that.
And then the last thing is Sharding Sphinx, which we actually not sharding like.
No, it's totally sharding. It is pooping out little Thopters. That's exactly what it's doing.
It thinks it's farting, but it's actually sharding.
Yeah.
But we played that with the Saheeli pre-made deck, the pre-con deck. That did really well. I mean, you had all these little 1/1 Thopters. Every time they did damage, boom, 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 you got more of those. So that's your
go wide strategy a little bit. Like you're able to potentially still win. You're still able to block and try and stay alive with all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's also there for when you go with the big dragon that you're talking about.
Correct.
Okay.
So some of the other things I'm not really going to go in deep with. You can look on Tapped Out later, but there's a bunch of the other like Tamio's Journal, like that creates a clue at the beginning of your upkeep, or the curse, the red curse that anytime a person attacks that person, they get that treasure, and you get a treasure token. So there's a bunch of
Curse of Opulence.
I think there's about 6 or 7 of those that are giving you clues and giving you tokens. And I also threw in...
It seems like there's just kind of like a lot of options and whatever you're feeling like a little bit.
And I did something that I don't like to do. I threw in 2 counter spells on the day.
Son of You judged me like 2 episodes ago.
Wait.
No,
but it fits in flavor with this, and there's a problem with... There's kind of a little problem with the deck.
There's definitely a problem with counter spells.
There isn't a lot of protection with this deck. There before the counter spells, there's only Lightning Greaves and Spellskite.
I'm going to admit, Brudiclad does look like he has syphilis. So
the other is what is that yellow stuff coming out of there?
Syphilis.
So I actually threw in Spell Swindle, which it's a huge counter spell. So I mean, if I'm leaving a 5, it's kind of a huge counter spell. It's not your typical 2. But when you counter spell, you get X treasure tokens where it's equal to the casting cost.
I'd say a fixed mana drain.
And then you have confirm suspicions, and that one is the same cost for countering a spell, but then you get to investigate 3 times, so you get 3 clues. So those are my only protection in the whole deck. So that's something that...
Well, that and Lightning Greaves?
Well, that's what I said. Those 4.
I wasn't paying attention.
You don't listen to me when I talk. But yeah, so those are the other things that'll get you some tokens and everything like that.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. And then we move into the draw stuff, which actually, why don't I just start with the other...
Which helps out the Locust God.
Yeah. Did I build a Locust God deck?
I feel like you should have.
I mean, I could. It's the same colors. I just flip it.
Same mana cost.
Yeah, exactly.
Just put Brudiclad in there.
Yeah. Why are you making all these tokens with your... It's a token Locust God deck.
Why not? It makes sense.
So 2 things I did put in here that kind of go with it as well with tokens is Pirate's Prize and Pirate's Pillage. One is red.
Peter Pecker. I can't. I'm awful with tongue ties.
Tongue twisters.
Tongue twisters. There we go. See, I can't even say that.
Pirate Prize, Pirate Pillage. So one is blue, and it's 1 blue, 3 colorless. You draw 2, and you get 2 treasure tokens. The other one's red. I think it's 1 red, 2 colorless. Or 1 red, 3 colors. One of the 2.
This is like
I'm just trying to go off
a
memory.
good card in my mind, so I don't.
Well, the point is, it's giving me treasure tokens, so it's discard a card, draw 2 cards, get 2 treasure tokens. So I believe it's 1 red and 2 colors, but whatever.
I would bet it's 3 colorless.
Oh, now I gotta look it up.
The Glimmer of Genius is 3 and a blue to draw 2 cards. Scry 2, draw 2, and 2 energy.
You're right, you ass. Yep, it's 3.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, so 1 red, 3 colorless. As an addition, you discard a card, draw 2 cards, get 2 tokens. So it's adding to your tokens. That's kind of the point of having that. And the only other really draw engine I had in here, besides Planeswalkers, there's some draw stuff with Planeswalker stuff, but is Dr. Spy Network, which I mentioned in the little tokens as well. But that one's if you have, artifact deal damage, you get to draw a card, 1 or more artifacts, so it doesn't matter how many
that's
artifacts
Dr. Spy Network, yeah.
How many deal damage, that's how you draw. And then Joria, what was it, the Weatherlight Captain?
Yeah, Weatherlight Captain.
So that's whenever you cast a
artifact,
legendary,
or saga.
Which,
sagas are so prolific. Everybody uses that shit.
Which, don't we need to use the flavor of what did they called it? Historic card.
Yeah.
So whenever you cast a historic, I don't know.
Nobody cares.
So those are the only real draw engines of this. Other than that, it's more of.
He took his list, so I couldn't read the the list names.
What do you mean the list names?
When I called them little tokens, you're like, you can't, and then you just took the paper from me.
I don't want you to read them. I'm just trying to jump to one.
Which one do you want to talk about now?
Let's go to.
Token creators? You need to come up with more creative names here.
Well, it's to myself, so I remember what they are.
No, it's to everybody.
No one's going to see that.
I do. All right. Do we want to do... Because I think token creators are probably the most interesting one.
Yeah.
Or do you want to go with big tokens?
No. Well...
Token creators?
Token creators. So those... Right. There's just a bunch of different kinds of... and it started with Arcane Artisan, which is pretty sweet because...
Battle Bond, Mythic.
Yeah. You draw the top card, or target player draws a card. Then you may put a token... or exile a card if it's a creature card. You may put a token of that creature into play. So this is making it so...
badass.
Yeah, you put any card that's not a 1/1 freaking creature, any of the big baddies that you have, or even just like a 4/4... boom, all your stuff turns into 4/4s when you go to your attack phase.
Yeah.
So, I mean, basically that whole line of it, you have Kiki Jiki, where you make a token. As soon as you make that token...
That. Splinter Twin, and yeah.
Yep, Splinter Twin I didn't put in here. It could be subbed in as well, but I put in Kiki Jiki because I wanted creatures in here. But...
And to my understanding with Kiki Jiki is...
that's what I was about to go over.
Were you about to say the sack part?
So when Kiki Jiki makes the creature, let's say you had a Worm Coil engine out, and that is in this deck, by the way, but you make the Worm Coil engine, that one gets sacrificed at the end of turn, but when you turn all your other tokens into that one, they don't get sacrificed because it only is the one that he makes that gets sacrificed, because the creature itself doesn't get the the ability must be sacrificed at the end of turn. So cards that say that, where like the creature gains that ability, then all of the creatures would gain that as well.
Sure,
but
yeah.
Kiki Jiki and Splinter Twin do not say that. They just say exile that creature or sacrifice that creature
at end of turn.
At the end of turn.
Yeah.
So Kiki Jiki, I'm interested because I've always liked this card and I want it to work, is the Fairy Artisans.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm excited to see if that actually kind of works out, and I think it will.
So if you don't know what that is, it's from Commander last year or two. No, it was Atrexa year because it was in the Atrexa deck.
That makes sense.
So you play it. Yeah, it was.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, because you're making tokens.
Sure.
Oh no, proliferate wouldn't matter, but it was in that set. It wasn't last year's, but it was the year before. Anyways, whenever a player plays a creature, you make a token copy of it. And then
whenever another one is played, that one is sacrificed.
Yeah,
and you
make another one.
So I'm just gonna make sure that like
you make
I play
a shitty one.
Yeah, I'm just gonna play all my shit cards.
That's where I was kind of thinking of it. I was like, yeah, people are gonna do that, but then I was like, well, then I'm kind of regulating how people are what they're gonna play. They're not gonna play their big creature that could win the game, because then I'll get a whole bunch of those copies.
But that'll slow people down. That's
right.
Perfect in my mind.
A little bit. And then just running down the list. Feldon of the third party.
Love that card.
Pulling token or creatures from your graveyard or exiling them and making them tokens. Again,
it doesn't exile them. It's just making a token into play, and then you sacrifice or exile it at the end of turn.
And then we got Stolen Identity. That one is you get to make
Is that the retrace one?
Yeah, the retrace.
Okay,
yeah. So it's a little. It costs a lot. It's 2 blue and 4, and then you make a token copy of target creature.
And then if you hit, and then that has retrace. So
you put it on another creature,
yeah,
and it hits. Then you get to make another token copy. Blah 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 blah. So there's quite a few of those where you're trying to copy. It's actually going to be dealing with a lot of the other players' board, because I did not. When I first was building this deck, I was like, okay, I'm going to put in like Blightsteel Colossus, just go big, like have big creatures in there. But then I was like, well. Then I actually got to get those out. So I was like, maybe what I do is I just build, like you said, build wide, and then copy other people's creatures, and then have a few of my own up my sleeve where if people aren't playing big creatures, I can still win by making a dragon token or one. Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Okay.
So that's what the rest of them are. You can see the rest of them on there as well.
I had dreams of you doing Inferno Titan. Everything like Kiki Jiki or Splinter Twin, then turn all of your tokens into Inferno Titan.
Oh man!
And just attack with like 18 Inferno Titans.
And that might be something that gets subbed in too. Yeah, that might get subbed in. So, and like I said, I haven't.
No, don't steal my idea.
Hey, you stole my idea by putting that Sensei's top in your deck.
Yeah.
Remember I told you that?
I told you. I told you not to.
So that's pretty much, I think, fills out the token creators. But you do have some other. It's mainly copying other people's stuff or your stuff in play, just so all your tokens can change into something pretty huge. I would think, what are we going to next? Let's go into maybe the big tokens, since we're talking about the little ones. So then you get into the next section where I was just talking about if the other players aren't really playing good creatures or you really want to copy them, well, you have to have that opportunity to be able to do it yourself. So I've made a few cards. I think I have about 7, 8, 9, about probably 9 to 10 of these in there. But you got, Helm of the Host. I freaking love that card.
You've been putting it in a lot of decks.
Helm of the Host. And that could almost fit into the other one too, but even just, you put that on, you could put it on your, just well, you could even put it on Brudiclad. It wouldn't do as much there, but it would change all your stuff into that. Boom, 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 boom.
It'd turn everything into a non-legendary
Brudiclad that would make one at the beginning of the combat, and each one would have another.
I don't think you could do that right away. I think you'd have to make the Brudiclad first because it's a trigger, and then the next turn, you can turn everything into.
Then everything turns into it, and then everything gets 2 1s. And just freaking insane. So Helm of the Host can go crazy. Another one was it Utvara?
Utvara
Hellkite. So that one, it's a dragon, and whenever a dragon attacks, you get a 5/5
dragon token. That's what you're aiming for. That's
exactly
what you want.
So you get if I have a dragon in play, all I have to do is just get it to attack. We get a dragon token. Next turn, all my stuff is dragons. One card I liked that you had that I came across was that card right there.
Right of the Raging Storm. I had that in my Xantcha deck, but it makes a 5/1 trampling thing that you sacrifice. Each player gets that during their upkeep, and I can see that being pretty cool.
I mean, like, even if I'm not using that right away, like, because
it's still putting pressure on the board.
Exactly, and the other part of it is those tokens will get sacrificed. So just so you know, if you change all your tokens to that 5/1, this has to be you're going to win the game because they're all going to gain. They get sacrificed at the end of turn. So that's kind of in there just to everybody else, like you had it in there to make people attack each other. But then at some point I could change them all into a 5/1
and just turn it into a bunch of ball lightnings basically.
Yeah. Freaking get through and kill everybody. And then that was a good play.
We forgot about that one.
Yeah, that was a good play. He did play Darkness tonight, which I haven't seen. Darkness. If you don't know Darkness, it's from
Black Fog,
from the Dark. Legends. That's right. But yeah, it's a Black Fog. It has like what does he look like? He looks like Aliens. The dude from Aliens. Alien.
I don't know. Sure.
I hate you, Larry. I would call you drunk, but you can't drink right now because it's super freaking late. So that's
we're responsible.
Yeah, there's a couple other ones like Dragon Master Outcast.
You know what? I really like that card, and
especially in Commander.
Yeah, it feels really cool. I wish I put it in more decks, and this is really good for you because you know that if you have it out by at turn 5. You can play Brudiclad, and then everything turns into
a dragon.
You'll have a dragon.
One card that I thought was pretty sweet was this one right here.
Oh, yeah. God Pharaoh's Gift. Totally agree.
Yeah,
it seems like a really cool card.
It's a 7-drop artifact. That kind of sucks. But at your combat phase, so at the same time Brudiclad is doing his effect, God Pharaoh's Gift is also doing its effect, but you may exile a creature card from your graveyard.
Put a 4/4.
It gets to be a 4/4
copy
token
of that card into play.
So even if the creature's a 1/1, well, you get it a token. Well, then after that, then you trigger Brudiclad's ability, and then everything turns into 4/4s, and so you can do it turn 1 because it's not. A lot of those effects are
upkeep or end step or whatever.
Exactly.
And these are all combat steps.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if you know about this one, but I believe it's called Gate to the Afterlife.
I don't know if I know that one.
So it's 3 mana. Whenever you have a creature, non-token creature die, you get to gain a life, and then you loot, draw a card, discard a card, and then if you have 5 or 6 creatures in your graveyard, you get to go and search for God Pharaoh's Gift and put it into play.
Oh, nice.
So that might be something that you want to add in there too. So it's kind of giving you a little bit of value as things die, but it also allows you to go and search for it because it's in the graveyard or library, or I think hand even.
Yep, hand and or library. And yeah, that is pretty sweet. The only problem I would say is it says non-token. It'd be sweet if it said just creature because it'd be like, yes, that's perfect.
That's perfect. But yeah, no, it's a good card this way, not a broken card. So
yeah, that's pretty sweet. I do like that. And then we get into the there's a splendor of planeswalkers in this deck. So I kind of went with all these planeswalkers that actually had an ability to make creatures tokens.
Well, I love when you were talking with me about it before, but Karn Scion of Urza.
So yeah,
that seemed really bonkers here.
Turn 1, you can play it. You can do its ultimate because that's how Karn is. You make an XX construct,
as many artifacts as you have.
So then you change all your other ones into as many an XX for as many artifacts as you have. So if you have all these clue tokens or treasure tokens or whatever tokens out, you change them all into it.
They're huge.
Yeah, they're all 10, whatever. If you have 10 tokens
that seems awesome.
So they all kind of go along the same line. So you have Tezzeret. What is it?
Artifice Master. Which one is that one?
That is the new 2019 one.
So, okay. I don't know that one as well.
Let me pull that one up quick. So the +1 is create a Thopter artifact with flying. The 0 is draw a card. If you control 3 or more artifacts, draw 2 cards instead. And then if you do the ultimate, you get the emblem at the beginning of your end step. Search your library for a permanent card and put that onto the battlefield. Then shuffle your library. So each turn you get a permanent. So I guess I have a tutor. If I ultimate,
I added a bunch of tutors into Estrid.
Yeah,
so
you did. I was like, "What? You got
anymore.
A tutor? The hell is going on?" But then you have Saheeli Ray, you have Saheeli the Gifted, and then this one was kind of cool.
Well, Saheeli Ray does kind of a similar thing to
Yeah.
Kiki Jiki, so that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and then the one that I kind of like that I want to see happen because it's so freaking cheap.
Yeah. Jace, cunning castaway.
It's
So if you make you're aiming to make a token of Jace, and then turn all of your other tokens into Jace.
Yeah, and then make tokens of all them. And
I hope. Well, what I want you to do is you got a bunch of tokens, and then you have Locust God out, and then you loot a bunch, and then you're gonna be able to make a ton of Locust.
You are all about the Locust God. God damn it!
Drawing cards is awesome.
Yeah. But this is kind of cool because you're going to make Jace tokens, so they're considered tokens, and so
I know some players that absolutely hate Jace. So if you can make all of your tokens into Jace, that's just like trolling people.
This is one of the worst Jaces that have come out, but I think it's going to be interesting.
Did you see Jace the Guild Pack? That was awful.
One of the more recent, I guess.
Sure.
Because this is.
They have too many Jaces.
But I'm excited to try to get that to work. It's not necessarily going to be good.
No, I would laugh my ass off if you did that. Even making a bunch of 2/2 tokens more.
Oh yeah,
like with the illusion.
Yeah.
Which that seems decent as well.
Yeah, I guess it wouldn't be bad to even change the 1/1s into 2/2s because they have to be targeted and to be sacrificed, Yeah. So that is also a benefit. So each one of these 5 planeswalkers can make tokens, which will help you generate more tokens. So that's kind of the part of the little token part, but I just kind of made the planeswalkers their own little separate section. Karn is going to be interesting. I'm glad I pulled him in a pack so I don't have to freaking go buy him anymore. But yeah, okay. So then we finish with the
your game winners.
Game winners, which Karn I would almost kind of consider a game winner.
Were you talking about the Dominaria Karn there?
Oh yeah, yeah. So I do have it on the list. Yeah, I forgot. I put Karn there again. Karn kind of could be considered.
He does everything.
Yeah.
Other
and
than
he has
draw cards.
He has draw.
Is it draw?
Yeah, you draw 2 cards, and then a player exiles one of them, and you get to keep the other one.
It's not a reveal, and then they exile
well,
one?
they get to look at it and pick one, and you get to keep the other.
Revealing and drawing are 2 different things.
And no, you draw the other one, and then it goes into your exile, and then you can draw one of those cards that's in the exile. Isn't that what it is?
I don't know. I don't know the card. You're the guy that you're playing the card.
This is a problem without having the freaking cards in front of me.
Yeah,
with this.
I know.
So, it is reveal the top 2 cards. You're a douche.
Boom.
Of your library. An opponent chooses one of them. Put that one. So it is a draw, though. You get to put the other one in your hand.
Are you drawing it?
Yeah. You put the other into your hand and exile the other one with a silver counter on it. Then
That's
you can
not drawing.
But I mean,
drawing is different than putting a card in your hand.
I'm sorry, it's not going to affect Locust God. I know
that's a big problem. That's a huge problem.
That's the whole point. It's not triggering Locust God. I'm sorry, but you're still getting that card in your hand.
I don't even know why you're playing Karn anymore. You should probably get rid of it.
Take it out. But yeah, let's go into the game winners.
Okay. So our term for winning the game is the Day of Dragons.
So we've always when we talk about decks and like when we're explaining to people that are new to Magic or whatever, we say, what's your Day of Dragons? Like, what's your way to win the game?
Yeah.
And that comes from actually our cousin, we've mentioned Jake a bunch. But Jake used to have this wizard deck where he just
counterspell everything with it was Patron Wizard.
This is why we hate counterspells to this day, is because all it was counterspells. We couldn't do anything. We never played cards, and then he'd play Day of Dragons, turn all his wizards into 5/5s, and kill us all.
And then generally, if we were able to do something about it, he would be able to like counterspell like a real counterspell in his hand.
Yeah.
And you're just like, shit.
It was this. Oh, I hated that deck.
Yeah,
and that's
like a foil or.
So now you're learning back to our past. This is why we hate counterspells and we try not to play with them as much, because it really was not fun.
Scars.
It was just like
emotional scars.
I'm just gonna sit here while you play cards, and we'll just wait until you get your. Because that's the thing is, he didn't have anything to win the game. I guess he could have killed us with his 1/1 wizards, but he needed them to counter stuff.
Yep.
And so it's like, how is he going to win the game? Oh, Day of Dragons, because now they're all 5/5s and he has 10 wizards out or whatever. So
you are trying to turn all of your creatures into 5/5 dragons.
Exactly.
Without Brudiclad in play.
Right. So you don't even
Makes sense to me.
Don't even need Brudiclad with this one. You can just get Day of Dragons out and boom, 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 boom. And even if Brudiclad's in play, Brudiclad turns into a 5/5, and then you can cast Brudiclad again. But it doesn't matter. They're already all 5/5.
True.
So, and then some of the other ones.
Clone Legion that makes a copy of all creatures that an opponent has.
Token copy of all those. Yep.
And then you just turn them into the biggest token. Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. Mechanized production.
That one's a game winner on itself. It comes in, you enchant an artifact, and then at the beginning of your turn, I believe it's upkeep, you make a copy of that artifact, and then if you control 10 or more of that same one, you win the game.
I'm not sure if it's that same one. I think it's actually just if you own 10 or more of an artifact that...
No, I thought it was I was pretty sure it was the same one. This is going to be a good episode. I'm going to cut a lot of this out.
Just a lot of guessing.
Yeah. Beginning of upkeep, create a token copy that's a copy of enchanted artifact. Then if you control 10 or more that's even better. Oh no, with the same name as one another.
Yeah,
you win. Okay. So you
as long as you have 10 of the same
have 10
name.
Clue tokens, but not doesn't have to be what that's on that.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So you can just have a bunch of tokens, turn them all into a clue or a treasure or gold or whatever, and then if you have 10 of them with this out, you win.
Yeah. So that's a win condition on its own. Like, there isn't a crap ton of removal in there. There's some removal of creatures. There's 2 things that it can remove creatures. Or also make a 4/4 angel by removing my own. It's another way to get around. Or not angel, is it a sphinx? I don't remember. It's a 4/4.
Sharding sphinx.
Sure. It's a sharding sphinx. But yeah, so this is a win condition where if I can't get through to kill somebody, if they lock me down, like Lowry's artifact, where I couldn't attack unless I tapped blah, blah, blah amount. Or, if you're stuck, this is a win condition just on its own.
Yeah.
And then mechanized. And then finally, Cyclonic Rift, which
of course
that doesn't always win you the game, but it should.
If you're not,
it just won me my game.
It means that you just stalled the game for another 20 minutes. Yeah. It sucks.
I only did it for one turn.
And you did win off of it, so I don't have any problem with that.
Yeah. So that's the deck in a nutshell, I guess. Did you have?
Is it a nutshell?
Kind of. It's a Brudiclad nutshell.
Token shell.
Token and
I don't know what I was going for there. I'm sorry.
And
I think that it. I think this one has like a bunch of different ways that you can kind of go a little bit. Like it seemed like you're kind of going wide and you want to land one big token.
Yeah.
And like the reason why I had like Inferno Titan Dreams in my head was just like I want to like play big huge creatures and then make tokens of those creatures. That's what I want to do, not necessarily what you want to do or what anybody else does. But
so yeah, I guess I
want to attack with like 6 Inferno Titans.
My way of doing it was more of this, I guess, is my style a little bit more, where I was just talking about how the ninjas isn't I'm not normally aggressive like that. This is more sitting back, building a pillow fort kind of type thing.
Then...
Yeah. I'm just making clues and stuff like that. You don't need to attack me.
Don't you mind me?
But I don't know if that's gonna work, because the last few decks that I've built and we've played with, we play test it with our friends and stuff like that. They're freaking aggressive, so they're gonna be like, kill Adam, kill Adam, kill
He's
Adam.
Super aggressive now.
Yeah, and this deck, I don't think it's gonna be able to handle multiple people coming at it right away. So it'll be interesting to test, because
I'm just gonna put Kataki War's Wage back in my Estrid deck.
What does that one do?
Makes you pay 1 for each artifact you control.
Oh yeah.
I did cut it. I got rid of it in my deck, but I'm gonna add it back in.
Yeah, nice. Just for this deck, only you're to sideboard
only
it.
That one. Yeah, 1 card sideboard. No, yeah, I think it's interesting. If you have comments that you want to go with,
maybe some suggestions or anything like that.
Yeah. Go check out Tapped Out.
What I kind of want to happen, honestly, is for them to come back with clues and treasure tokens, because I think it'd be really fun, because there really wasn't a lot to choose from with those two colors.
Oh,
because
okay.
there's a lot of different stuff I could have done. I also was thinking of doing the Scion tokens, the Eldrazi spawn and everything, but that's wrong colors. It's green, black,
Yeah, not a
so
lot
that doesn't
in blue.
work.
There's
Yeah.
some in red, but
Yeah, they didn't work very well, to fit in this deck. So I kind of want them to come, if they start making another counters with clues, whatever, treasure and stuff like that, I might revamp it back to that. But there's a limited amount, so I only used a handful of each.
Gotcha.
So on to our third segment,
So
right?
new cards.
that came out this week.
So this is we are recording this on Wednesday night. I don't even know what day it is actually. So it is the 30th, August 30th. I'm just saying that because we're going to release it later on, Saturday, Sunday, and there might be newer cards that come out later on. We won't.
So
see those.
at this point, there's only 2 from Guilds of Ravnica. But then what we actually wanted to start off talking about is...
So there's this new shitty product.
Don't
Magic
buy it.
It's Magic Game Nights, and so they have a bunch of pretty bad cards in there.
Yeah.
But
each
5
deck
new
is
ones.
about $10 a piece.
Yeah. So there's 5 of them, one of each color. If you're listening to this, I wouldn't. It's bad.
Don't buy it. No, but you could buy the separate cards. The new cards are actually, some of them are okay.
The comments that I was kind of seeing on it were, people were like, this is going to be perfect for me because they enjoy Magic, but they have friends that don't. And so if they have them over for a game night, they can kind of get them into Magic. That might, and they're like, I specifically could do this with friends.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you don't, it's not worth buying. It's just not very good product. But there are 5 new cards that come in. They are quote unquote mythic.
Militant Angel is the white one.
It's probably my favorite one.
Yeah, 3 and 2 white. It's a 3/4 flying lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, create a number of 2/2 white knight creature tokens with vigilance equal to the number of opponents you attacked this turn. So you make sure you cast it after you in your second main phase, but you make sure you attack as many different people as you can.
Yeah, like
they don't have to do damage; they just have to attack.
Yeah, and it feels like this is blinkable, definitely blinkable in like a Brago deck or something.
Oh yeah.
3/4 flying lifelink for 5 isn't anything to sneeze at, but then creating probably at least 1 to 3 2/2s depends on you might be sacrificing something to get a 2/2. I think this one's probably the most interesting. It's the best
still not
one.
Amazing, but it's
if they printed
okay.
this mythic in an actual set,
that'd be
I
really
wouldn't be
shitty.
super happy.
Yeah, that would be.
I would not be happy.
This would be the card we wouldn't want out of our mythic draw in our boxes. And then we get into the blue one. It's kind of cool because they do like each one kind of has its own. Well, of course, its own freaking creature type. What the hell am I talking about?
Yeah.
Just go with it.
Okay, so Inspired Sphinx. It's 5 colorless, 2 blue for a 5/5 flyer. When Inspired Sphinx enters the battlefield, draw a card equal to the number of opponents you have. And then you can pay 3 colorless and a blue, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying.
Totally putting this in Brudiclad. That's exactly what I was waiting for. Paying 4 to get a Thopter.
Just 7 is a lot of mana to draw. A 5/5
1 to 3 cards.
Draw 1 to 3 cards, and then pay 4 to create a 1/1 token.
Yeah.
It just seems like a lot.
Yeah.
So,
moving on, Rot Hulk for black 5 and 2 black menace zombie 5/5. When it enters the battlefield, this always has kind of deal with how many opponents you have. So it's kind of geared towards
multiplayer.
Yeah. So that's why you kind of think commander, but like Larry was saying, this is more geared towards newer.
Yeah, they're trying to get people hooked on with bad cards,
which makes sense, right?
Yeah, because all they do is put out bad products other than Commander. And
Although
then they
if you think about it,
par for the course, right?
If it was good cards, all the commander players would buy it up, and then it would be really expensive, and they wouldn't get a chance at it.
They can just print as much as they want of it.
Yeah.
Make a ton of money if they print.
It's like printing
cards.
money. But when it enters the battlefield, return up to X target zombie cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the number of opponents you have. So 1 to 3.
If you're playing with this, it has to go into a zombie deck. It's like recurring 1 to 3 zombies is not a bad thing. 7 mana, again, is a lot for not necessarily winning the game.
Yeah.
So,
and then our next one, red.
It is Goblin Goliath. 4 colorless, 2 red, 5/4. When Goblin Goliath enters the battlefield, create a number of 1/1 red goblin creatures, tokens equal to the number of opponents you have, and then you can pay 3 and a red, tap it. If a source you control would deal damage to an opponent, double that damage.
Now, this one has a better second ability. Like, the other two is just like, doesn't seem...
Well, there isn't even
a second one on the zombie,
yeah, for
but
the
this
Sphinx,
one...
you're putting out a 1/1. The red one here, Goblin Goliath,
potentially
you're
doubling damage
for any source that you... So you could...
this one I actually feel like is the most usable out of the
and goblins
5.
That's a decent goblin top end as well. Like goblins at 6 mana, there's not a ton of them.
Yeah.
And so this is, let's say this is 6 mana for a 5/4 that creates 1 to 3 goblins when it comes into play. Siege Gang Commander is a really good card. That's 5 mana for 2/2 and 3 1/1s. And so this isn't that far off.
Yeah.
And then it has this doubling damage ability. This is actually, I think,
probably usable.
A decent one.
Yeah. And then greens is Avatar of Growth, 4 and 2 green. It costs 1 less for each opponent you have, so maybe 1 to 3 less. So 4/4 Trample. When it enters the battlefield, each player searches their library for up to 2 basic lands and puts them into the battlefield and then shuffles their library. That kind of sucks. It's nice if it was just you, but the fact that you're helping your opponents out as well is kind of a big downfall.
I was trying to figure out, like, I hate it when I myself sit down and go, is this card good? Because a lot of times in a vacuum, cards just aren't good. Mm-hmm. But I try and put my mindset into... where can this card be good, or when can this card be good? And so, like, I am asking myself, let's say you're in a 4-player game and this is cost 3 less. Is this a good card as a 4/4 Trampler for 2 green and a colorless that'll put 2 lands into play for everybody? Or is that still not very good?
I don't like the ones where it helps everybody.
Yeah. No, and I can definitely understand that.
Because it's helping them filter through their decks and lands, getting land and
ramping everybody.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think it might be all right. Like, let's say you're ramping into... it might be all right against, like, your Yoriko deck, where you only need 5 to 6 mana to
do
everything that you ever want. And this,
but then it's very situational about who you're playing. So it's like, oh, this isn't a deck that really needs mana, so now I'm going to use this. It's.
But if you're getting more of a benefit off of it, and maybe you're in a landfall deck, and I don't, it's an elemental.
I guess a landfall. If you have a lot of landfall triggers off of it, that might help, because then you're actually getting, not only you are helping your other players or other opponents get land, but you have multiple triggers that will take effect. Yeah. I think that's probably the only spot I would.
This is it is an elemental, so this could go in like Omnath, Locust of Rage, because it'll help you get to Omnath, or if it's out, you're getting 2 5/5s, or if it dies, you're dealing 3 damage and you're ramping 2. That could be an all right play.
I guess the one benefit is it's not going to cost 6.
It's not it's not 6.
So I kept looking at it as 6, and I keep forgetting that, yes, it costs 1 less. So if you're playing against 3, it's only 3 mana to get a 4/4 Trampler out there that, everybody gets a benefit from the land. But if you build it right with enough triggers that you benefit from, I think then maybe it's more beneficial.
So I think you really need to work with this card, but I don't know. I'm not going to call it bad.
Yeah. I think the fact that making it 1 less for each opponent has made me go meh from to meh. Can you tell the disdain
again? If
with
this
that?
was a mythic in any other set, I'd be not happy with it.
But overall, I think red has the best one out of the the 5 potentially. I don't know.
You know, after we kind of talked about it, I do like the white one, but that attacking thing is so conditional. Like, you don't want to just throw any creature into the fire and then just get a 2/2 vigilance. Like,
if you were getting 4/4 angels, fuck yeah.
Yeah, that'd be nuts.
See ya. Buy 1/1. Buy 1/1.
So, but the 5 mana cost isn't bad for the angel. But I think you're right. The Goblin Goliath is probably the best out of the 5 there.
And then we got 2
from Guilds of Ravnica.
So they're continuing with the buy a box.
Them dickheads.
Promos. What do we get first? You sent me was it Impervious Great Worm?
Yeah, Impervious Great Worm.
And that one is 7 and 3 green, 16/16. It has Convoke, so it costs 1 less for each creature you tap, and it's indestructible. I would have thought this would have trample on it as well, but 16/16 is pretty big. You don't want to give that trample.
Chumped all day.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's enough, if there's enough token making in Guilds of Ravnica, then they're just going to be able to block this all day.
Yeah.
You're going to have to give it trample somehow. Understandable. I think I was seeing that this is the biggest creature in Magic at this point.
Took over Emrakul.
16. Yeah.
Nice.
So that it's a huge creature for 10. That's
could be less.
It could be less. Yeah, if you have tokens, you could just tap those down, or not tokens, but just creatures that don't do anything. You're just able to toss it in there. I can't really think of anything that I'd want to put
buy
it
a box. I'm not too. It's not like
again, it's going to come out like $30, and you're like, son of I don't want to buy this.
I don't really want to buy that one.
Yeah.
This one I'm not like too keen to like go after right now. The other buy a boxes were a little more interesting, but whatever. And then we got one actual spoiler. How would you say it? Macabre Hatchery?
No, it's just Macabre Hatchery.
Oh.
So it's a sorcery, 3 colorless, 2 black. Choose a creature that's in your graveyard that I can't really read
1, 2, and 3.
And 3, and put them into play.
So casting cost of 1, 2, and 3, and then they just come into play, not tapped or anything.
Yeah. And this feels like a really powerful card.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it's good enough for like Commander, because it's so specific about what's in your deck, and you don't have like the ability to have consistency. I can't think of any sort of combo where I'd want to go like Buried Alive, where you put 3 creatures into play and then cast this the next turn to bring those 3 back. Like, I can't think of anything right now that's like gonna be bonkers.
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. Because it's mana cost. If it was power, I could see something different there, but it's mana cost, so I'm not gonna go like Delver's Secrets. Like, that doesn't make sense.
All right, let's move into our Smith specs of the week. There probably will be more spoilers possibly this week, so we might have missed some just because we're recording this a little early, so apologize for that. But we had to do it for time constraints because
I gotta go.
Lowry's going out of town. So let's start off Smith specs of the week. My first one is Scrap Trawler, the Buy-A-Box promos. These guys are sitting at $2. I actually got a few of them a couple months back.
When they're under $1.
When they're under $1, but they're being used in a lot of a couple modern decks right now, and there's a few cards that are actually starting to spike from those modern decks. Now it's in a the set that's Aether Revolt that's actually rotating out, but the modern isn't going to have a ton of an effect. If it was in standard decks more, I would say maybe wait
be
on
a little
this,
bit more worried about it. But with it being in more and more modern decks, it makes sense to me. I think it's a really powerful card in general. So,
this is kind of, normally I like to stick with commander cards and why they spike, but if you want to make some money off of cards in general, you have to look at all aspects of the game. That's why we talked about reserve list cards and different stuff. So I feel like this modern-wise is what's going to drive this one right now, because there is a popular couple decks that are being used that have made other cards from this. What was it? The Ancient
KCI. Yeah.
It was
Card Clan Ironworks, and
the one that just went off this week was the one where you sacrifice by tapping.
Oh, whenever an artifact comes into play and they mill.
Yeah.
I don't remember that one.
But anyways,
So-
so that's kind of the reason why I'm going after that, because that deck's becoming very popular, making other cards from that spike. So, Lowry, your first one.
So my first one is going to be Time Sieve. Civ. It's an artifact. 1 black, 1 blue. You tap it, sacrifice 5 artifacts, take an extra turn after this one. Now I'm saying the foil, which is sitting around like $17 $18. I think this is a really solid card. I've seen people call it, like online, they say that it's a little bit more like win more. I put it in my like Thopter Foundry Sword of the Meek deck, and then you're able to just like continue, just kind of keep on going, and nobody can stop you once you have that.
And that was we kind of spec'd on these a while back, the regular ones, when they unbanned Sword of the Meek, because we thought that they were going to go nuts with all that. And it isn't until like recently I've been seeing more of the Sword of the Meek decks. That's kind of the same thing. Why scrap Trawler is actually in those Sword of the Meek decks as well. Yeah,
because you're able to retake back the little bauble, Misha's bauble.
And you just,
So it gets you some really good value, but I feel like this card just kind of like, if you have this and then the Thopter combo out, you just win the game. You don't have to like grind it out. You just win
exactly.
on the spot.
And I would say you could probably go for the regulars too on this too, because there's only one printing of this as well. So regulars and foils. The foils are going to be really pretty though. I like the art in this one.
Yeah.
And then we're going to stay in the same lines as that. So I was going to talk about a different card, but I'll jump to this one since we're already talking about it, and I don't have to explain it again. Sword of the Meek.
Sword of the Meek.
With that, just go for the regulars. There's a medium supply, so I think there's like 30 to 40 copies left on TCG, but this has only one printing. If you want to get the foils, they're around $30, but I'd say maybe stick with just the regulars. Yeah, so I would say stick with the regulars on this. I mean, I guess it could see a reprint at some point, so which it depends on which kind of set it would be in. If it would be in your commander set or something, but we got a year out from that. I think this is going to spike in the next few months. It's not going to be years or whatever. So
it just kind of depends on how popular it gets in Modern.
Well, there's
if somebody places highly and with it, then it spikes.
Create its spike.
Which is kind of how it happens.
So I pick up the regulars right now. It's probably it's going to be pretty quick here, I would think. Not quick. I mean, in the next couple months. I'm like going back and forth with it. Because there's a couple modern decks that have been making all these other ones spike in there. So it's Grinding Station. That's the name of it. That's the one that just went it just came to my mind. Grinding Station is the other one that spiked this week. And so that's in both of those modern decks. And both Sword of the Meek, I even think Time Sieve might even be in there. Scrap Trawler are 4 ofs in those decks. And so that's why I think you should go for these cards. Lowry, your next one?
So my next one is going to be Cultivate from Masters 25. Now I'm talking about the foils. So the foils are going for about $2. This card is heavily played in Commander and sitting at a $2 foil. Now they do reprint it a lot. That's why I wouldn't go for the regulars. Yeah. But the foil, there's only there's a promo and an M11 of it. Those are the only foil printings of it. And I would say
the cheapest is this one to get. It's $2.
Yeah, by far. So again, it's like when you're going through and trying to like pimp out your decks a little bit, this is something that this will go on a ton of your decks, and it's a great card to just kind of pick up foil, and then it makes your deck kind of look better. But it also is going to appreciate in value in my mind in the future.
I agree.
So again, this is long term, so I think you can, if you're looking to just fill out a cart, this is probably something that you go and look for. But I wouldn't go out and buy a whole ton of them right off the bat. It's just something that you slowly keep in the back of your mind. For me,
yeah, and you might even be able to get them a little cheaper if you go and buy 4 ofs on like eBay or something like that. They might, sometimes they have those deals where you get 4 of for half the price. So. Yeah, good one. And then one, and I kind of talked about it when I was doing the Commander Spotlight, is Helm of the Host. Now, this one I've been putting in so many freaking decks. Like, it just fits because it takes the legendary out of your commander. So you can start having multiple copies. So whatever,
like you're playing your commander because he's awesome. So if you get another awesome card,
and then another one, and then another one, it's
that's
just
the way that you want it.
So I'm saying go for the foils right now of these. You could go for the I've actually picked up a whole bunch of the regulars because I just started not making proxies of these because the regulars are under they're about $1.50. So those are super cheap right now because I think that price will even go up, but that's going to be a little bit longer term. Even the foils will probably be a little bit longer term too, but I think these might spike sooner than the regular ones. But they're at $8, $9 right now. I think I just picked up a couple of them for about $8.50 is what I was getting them at. So, but yeah, I mean, it's gone in since Dominaria, it's gone in 3 or 2 out of my 3 decks that I built, and honestly, the reason why it's not in my ninja deck is I forgot. I didn't see, like, a lot of times what I do is I go through like my expensive cards because I have it in a separate binder, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good card. I write it down, and I guess I just didn't come across Helm.
You've used up all of them.
Or maybe what it was when I was building it, I don't know. I don't even want to get into it, but yeah, honestly, I might actually put this back or put this in ninjas, but I forgot about it. So.
Nice.
Yeah. So last one, Larry.
Going with Vigor from Paddle Bond. Going with foil here again as well.
Again as well.
It is sitting at about $7 right now. The Lorwyn version before the Battle Bond printing was sitting at like 16. And so if you're sitting there and you're seeing the foil of the newer printing lower than the original regular, I highly suggest this card is great for Commander. It stops people go, whoa, okay, I need to figure out how to
get rid of that before I deal damage to their creatures and get them huge.
So you just I would suggest going and picking that up. This again, long-term spec. I don't think this is something that they plan on reprinting anytime soon again.
And it looks like your top out will probably be at least a triple up because it looks like the original Lorwyn got up to around upper 20s. So yeah, that's a pretty good.